Good afternoon, my dear students at home. I hope you are safe. Mr. Adio Mahmoud Abiodun. I'm here to teach biology. Our topic for today's class is evolution. Learning objective. At the end of the lesson, the student should be able to 1. Define evolution. 2. State the laws of evolution. 3. Outline the contribution of Lamarck theory of use and disuse. 4. They should be able to outline the contribution of Charles Darwin theory of natural selection. 5. Students should be able to state 5 evidences of evolution. What is evolution? Evolution is a branch of biology that deals with study the history of life. But evolution can be simply defined as a process of development of complex organisms from simple form over a long period of time, which results in the origin of new species. The present-day organism believed to have evolved from the olden-day organism. For example, if you look at man evolved over before the present day man. According to the scientists who propounded the theories of evolution, they believe that the present day organism evolved from certain chemicals, but to the people in the to Muslim and Christian, we believe that heaven and earth was created by Almighty God. But our focus is we want to look at evolution as a branch of biology. Now, theories of evolution. We have many scholars who work on evolution, but we are going to be looking at the work of the foremost and modern evolutionists. One is Jean-Baptiste Lamarck. Jean Lamarck is a French zoologist. He made a claim that all living things were related and that the characteristics could change with time. He made use of domestic dogs for his experiments. He called the differences in species variation, and he concluded that variation were caused by the environment. For example, if you look at your environment, for example, if you bring a dog from GRA and you bring another dog from a rural area, the dog from a rural area usually feed on human feces, dirty food materials, decomposing items, and so on and so forth. But the dog from the GRA do eat a prepared meal that is well rationed. You will notice that the behavior of these two animals can never be the same. The differences in their behavior is what he termed variation. He concluded that the environment causes variation in an organism. Lamarck proposed the following evolutionary theory. He proposed the law of use and disuse of body parts. He also proposed another law called the law of inheritance of acquired characteristics. First one, the law of use and disuse of body parts. If you look at this picture below, you will notice, if you look at this picture, you see different giraffes with different heights. The young ones are the offspring of these tallest giraffe. According to Lamarck, there was a time when there was no vegetation, no grass around for the giraffe to feed on because of famine, because of famine and natural disaster. The only thing that they can feed on is the crown of a tall tree. The giraffe constantly use its neck by constantly extend its neck and use its mouth to pick leaf from the crown of a tall tree so that it can use it to feed the young giraffe. And as a result of this, the giraffe developed a long neck. Lamarck concluded that a body part that is constantly used enlarges or become efficient. The one that is not used become weak or small. E.g., for example, giraffe develop a long neck over time because they feed on what? Crown of trees. Penguin wings become smaller because they are not used. And athletes develop a strong muscle because of constant exercise. If they fail to do the exercise regularly, the strong or thick muscle develop over time will drop. And that is, if you constantly use a body part, that body part become what? Develop. And if you fail to use that body part, it become weak or small. That is the law of use and disuse of body parts. The main idea of this theory of use and disuse are as follows. He made us to understand that environment make an organism to have some need. I've explained this before, that the giraffe, because of the environment where it lives, because of famine, because of no food, droughts, no green vegetation, he developed in order to feed himself, because the environment has created a need, which is a need to look for grass, a need to look for leaf to feed the young one. As a result of this, and the organism may use an organ, that is if in order to satisfy this need. An organ that is much used develop, and the organ that is not used degenerates. Characters are acquired by an organism while trying to satisfy this need created by the environment and are inherited by the offspring. Lamarck based his theory on the influence of environment on the organisms. The second law proposed by Jean Lamarck is the law of inheritance of acquired characteristics. The law of inheritance of acquired characteristics states that new species evolved after several generations by acquiring new traits, and losing the old one. For example, the giraffe, the longer neck trait were passed to the next generation because they've acquired it and they now transmit it or pass it to their young ones. That is all about Jean Lamarck. Don't forget that Jean Lamarck made us to understand that environment creates what? The need for an organism. And an organism may use any organ of his body. And the organ that the animal use become well developed. The one that is not used become degenerate, become small or reduced. That is what, and when this character acquire, it is passed on to the next generation. These are the two laws propounded by Jean Lamarck, a French zoologist. The second work we are going to be looking at is the work of Charles Darwin. He published a book known as Origin of Species by Natural Selection. He was an English naturalist. He formulated theory of natural selection based on the struggle for existence. He maintained that favorable qualities will be preserved, while the unfavorable traits will be eliminated. This will lead to formation of a new species. His idea or his work is based on 5 premises. The first thing is, in an environment, anywhere organism find itself, organism tend to reproduce and produce a large number of offspring. That is, this will lead to overpopulation. That is overproduction, the first one. The second thing is, out of these offspring, there will be noticeable differences among them. One, we have a very strong features, while some we have a weak features. The one with strong feature will survive. The one with good feature will be able to acquire more natural resources from the environment. Because of the overpopulation, the need to satisfy their the need their need will increase, and there will be the resources they need to survive are in limited supply. Example of the resources they needed is include water, food, space, meat, and so on and so forth. As a result of this, the one with advantageous different advantageous modification, the one with the one with good feature will be able to obtain plenty natural resources and survive, while the one with weak features will not be able to survive it and die out. This leads to what is called survival of the fittest. The third thing is struggle for existence. Because of the limited resources in the environment, the organism will be competing, will be struggling for the what? Limited resources. And only the one with good features, good adaptive features, will be able to attract, will be able to obtain plenty of these natural resources, while the one with weak features will not be able to obtain enough natural resources. As a result of this, it will die of hunger or starvation. And these advantageous characteristics will now be passed, will now be used to reproduce and give, will now be passed to the young, will now be passed on to their young one. Now, all the work of Charles Darwin is based on these 5 things. 1. All organisms show some variation that are inheritable. 2. Organisms bear more offspring that can survive. That is overpopulation. Natural resources required for the survival of this organism, like water, food, space, meat, are available in a limited supply. 4. Offspring struggle for these scarce resources. During competition, organisms with different adaptive features will survive. That is, the best adapted organisms survive, obtain natural resources, and survive. This is termed survival of the fittest. The best adapted individual reproduce and pass on the acquired characteristics to the future generation. As adaptation accumulates over many generations, new species are formed or emerges, and the evolution of new species is called speciation. The formation of new species out of this population is known as what? Speciation. The least adapted offspring are weak, they die out, and as a result of environmental pressure, which is part of natural selection. If you look at this idea, what Darwin is telling us that the nature will select the best and the weak one will be weeded out. That is law of selection, law of natural selection. That is the law propounded by what? Charles Darwin. Limitation of evolution. theories. One of the reasons why the work of Jean Lamarck was not accepted by many scientists is because most of the physical features acquired by parents during their lifetime are not cannot be inherited by their young ones. As a result of this, most of his work were rejected. Most of his work, most of his one of his most of his theory was rejected by the scientists. That is why, if the one experiment was used to disprove his theory, which is the August Weismann, a German zoologist, make use of rats. He cut the tail of the male rat and the female rat and allowed them to mate. He discovered that the young one produced by these young ones are born with tail. Why the young one produced was allowed again to reproduce, and they also produced another one with tail. Now, the second thing why the second limitation of evolution theory is inability of Darwin to explain how variation comes about. If Darwin failed to explain how variation arises among members of the same species, that is one of the limitations of evolution theory. Modern theories of evolution. The modern theory of evolution can be stated as follows. 1. Variation are caused by environment. Variation are caused by the environment, are not inheritable. The only inheritable variation are those that are caused by changes in the structure of DNA in the chromosomes. 3. Mutation are the ingredient for organic evolution by natural selection. 4. The functional unit of evolution is the population. 5. Isolation is an important factor in evolution. This modern theory of evolution can be summarized under 3 headings. The first one is mutation theory. The second one is theory of natural selection. The third one is theory of isolation or geographical isolation. Now, what is mutation theory talking about? Mutation is a sudden. What is mutation? Mutation is a sudden appearance of a distinct characteristic in a large population of an organism, which is due to minor change or alteration in the gene or chromosome. Mutation that can be inherited is the one that affects the gamete or the gene of an organism. Mutation can only be inherited when it occurs in the gene. Anything outside the gene or gamete cannot be passed to the young ones. The second thing about mutation is that mutation elsewhere in the body cannot be inherited or passed. That is the one of Lamarck theory. That says physical features acquired by parents can be inherited by their offspring is wrong. It is only the characters that affect the gene or gamete that can be passed to the young ones. The second modern theory of evolution is theory of natural selection. This one is based on the fact that nature selects the best among the organisms and allow the weak one to die out. That is the theory of natural selection. The third one is theory of geographical isolation. If a member of a species are separated into two or more by natural barrier like desert, mountain, ocean, rivers, or any continental drift for a long period of time, the gene may change to the extent that they cannot interbreed again to produce a viable offspring, and the population thereby may have produced a new species. If you have a particular goat in the north and you have a particular goat in the southern part of the country and you allow them to stay for many years, you will notice that the features, the observable features of these two goats will be totally different. The one in the north will have a longer limbs so that they raise above the heat of the earth, while the one in the south will have a thick muzzle because they are feeding on a fresh vegetation and there is no much heat. As a result of this, they become what? As a result of this, variation will exist among them. That is all what is modern theory of evolution is talking about. Don't forget that the modern theory of evolution is based on three premises: the mutation theory, theory of natural selection, that the nature select the best among individuals to survive, why the weak one is removed. Evidences of evolution, evidences of organic evolution. Evidence of organic evolution include: 1. Comparative anatomy. Similarity in the skeleton, muscular system, digestive system, and nervous system of vertebrates indicates that they are of the same common ancestry. If you look at this picture, this is a comparative anatomy of homologous structure of different vertebrates. You will see that the pentadactyl limb of human is similar to that of horse, is similar to that of cat, is similar to that of bat, is similar to that of bird, and that of whale. They all have humerus. They all have the radius and ulna, but they have been modified into different in a different way because they perform different function. This is what is called, if a feature of an organism originated from the same common ancestry but they are modified for different function, this is what is called convergent evolution, and the structure is homologous structure. But if the features of an organism originated from different ancestry and they perform similar function, this is what is called divergent evolution, and that feature is called analogy. Example of this is function of pentadactyl limb of man and wing of a bird. Both are used for what? Movement. The second evidence of organic evolution is vestigial organs. The presence of useless organ in animals over many generations indicates that they originated from the same common ancestry. We have various examples of vestigial organs in our body. What are the vestigial organs? Don't forget, is a useless organ in plants and what? Animals. Example is nipples in male. It is not used for any purpose. It's a useless organ. Appendix is a useless organ in man. Hair on the chest is a useless organ. It's a vestigial organ. Reduced tailbone in vertebrates is a useless organ which is not performing any function in man. Pelvic bone and leg bone in whale. Presence of wisdom teeth in vertebrates. Erector muscles cyanosis, muscles of forehead or pyramid, nasty, etc. These are the vestigial organs. The presence of this organ shows that we all evolved from the same common ancestor. The next evidence is embryology. Evidence from embryology. What is embryology? Embryology is a branch of biology that deals with study of embryonic development of plants and animals. There is a striking similarity among vertebrates, which suggests common ancestry. If you look at this picture, you notice that they are somehow similar. They look alike. The first part of our body that evolved, that formed first, is what? The head, before the what? The tail. That is cephalothorax. All living organisms, all living vertebrates undergo the same embryonic stages that his ancestor undergo. That is what is called law of biogenesis. It states that all living organisms pass through the same embryonic stages that his ancestor undergo, such as gizzard in fish, in all vertebrates, or presence of notochord in all vertebrates, which shows that we all evolved from the same common ancestor. The third evidence of organic evolution is physiology. The presence of similar hormones and enzymes among group of organisms that perform among vertebrates shows that we all evolved from the same ancestor. Examples include trypsin, which is found in all group of animals, and it is used for digestion of protein. Another examples of common things we have is hormones. Thyroid hormone is found in all vertebrates, and it's used for regulation of metabolic activities. Another evidence of organic evolution include fossil record or paleontology. What is the meaning of fossil? Fossils are long preserved remains or imprint of organisms that once lived. It is a known fact that all vertebrates, whether fish, snail, man, etc., when they die, the soft tissue decompose while the hard part remain. For example, the soft tissue of snail will decompose and it remains only the what? The calcareous shell. The same thing for man. All the soft tissue will decompose and remain the what? The hard part, which is what? The bone. And these varieties of fossil organism in sedimentary rock, which is observed through radioactive dating, show a striking similarities between the pre-existing organism and the present-day species. This suggests that the present-day species originated or they have common ancestors. Another evidence of organic evolution is cytology. Evidence from microscopic structures of plant and animal cells show that all living organisms have similar organelles. The similar organelles found in animals include nucleus, mitochondria, endoplasmic reticulum, nucleolus, and so on and so forth. These are the what? Similar organelles that are found in all living organisms. This shows that we all evolved from a common ancestor. Evidence from serology, that is, when looking at the antigen of monkey and man, there is a striking similarities. This shows that the more closer the two species are physiologically, the more likely their blood protein. This is evidence from serology. Another one is evidence from domesticated animals. By crossbreeding of different animals, man has been able to produce a new strain of domestic animals. Another evidence of Organic evolution is molecular record. The longer the organism have separated according to the fossil record, the more differences are seen in their DNA. Another evidence includes molecular record. The DNA of a closely related animal show more similarity than those of distant species. For example, chimpanzee and man have similar DNA, which is about 97.5% related. This suggests that they are closely related and they evolved from the same ancestor. Biochemical records. The biochemical and chemical processes in all living organisms are similar. All living organisms made use of ATP as their source of energy. They all have complex molecules such as carbohydrates, lipids, and protein and nucleic acid in their body. This suggests that they all have a common ancestor. The next one is terminology used in evolution. 1. Adaptive radiation. This is increased specialization of structure and function among animals of the same class or order for survival in a new and different environment. Okay, terminology used in evolution. We are going to be looking at these 5 terminologies used. One is adaptive radiation. What is adaptive radiation? This is an increasing specialization of structures and functions among animals of the same class. If you look at man, for example, we have a similar structure with other vertebrates like amphibia, reptilia, apes, and man. And a similar structure is structures of our backbone, structures of our vertebrae. That is 1. 2. Structures of pentadactyl limb. But because these features become specialized, have been used for different functions, it enhances our survival in different environments. That is what is called adaptive radiation, increase in specialization of structures and functions among animals of the same class. The second one is analogy. Terminology used in evolution. 1. Adaptive radiation. This is increasing specialization of structure and function among animals of the same class. For example, man, dog, goat, and so on and so forth. They are in the same class because they have in the class Mammalia. Now, they all have the same structure called pentadactyl limb. These features have been modified in different way because they use it in a different environment. For example, the amphibia make use of their limbs in water. As a result of this, in between their digits, they develop a flat skin, which make it to become web, and which enable them to paddle, enable them to move with ease in water. The second terminology we are going to be looking at is analogy. This is the structure in an organism that have different ancestral origins but serve the same purpose. For example, the wing of butterfly and the 4 limbs of vertebrate, they perform the same function. Like the 4 limb is used for movement, while the wing is also used for movement. Let me buttress this, the four limbs of bat is used for flying, while the wings of butterfly is also used for what? Flying. They have different ancestral origin, but they are used for what? Movement in the air. That is why they call their analogy. The structure that develop from different ancestral origin, but they perform the same function. The third terminology is homology. This is a structure that have certain features in common with each other but perform different functions. These include the limbs of man, okay, the limbs of dog. The limbs of dog is used for running, while the limbs of man is used for movement, and so on and so forth. Ontogeny. This is the development of from a single cell in an organism. The last one is phylogeny. This is the evolution progress of our ancestry. The development, the evolution progress of our ancestry is known as phylogeny. Let me go back. In summary, let me go to the beginning again. Our topic is evolution. I explained the meaning of evolution to you. I said evolution is a branch of biology that has to do with what? The history of life. Evolution can be simply defined as a process of development of complex organisms from simple form over a long period of time, which results in the formation of a new species. It can also be defined as a gradual, cumulative, adaptive, heritable changes in an organism over a long period of time, resulting in formation of a new species. We have theories of evolution. We look at two theories. We look at the work of the foremost and modern evolutionists. These include the work of Jean Lamarck and Charles Darwin. Jean Lamarck, a French zoologist, propounded two evolution theory. The first one, law of use and disuse of body parts, law of inheritance of acquired characteristics. Law of use and disuse of body parts states that if a part of body is being used constantly, it becomes efficient. The one that is not used become weak or small. That is the law of what? Use and disuse. And you can see this in snake. The olden day snake have four limbs and hind limb, but because of the changes in the structure of the earth, in the environment, there was formation of a thick forest, and for snake to move through, they develop a long cylindrical body, and as a result of this, they drop the use of their four limbs and hind limb, and over time the four limbs and the hind limb become reduced and become useless because it is not being used again. And athletes develop a thick or strong muscle over time due to rigorous constant exercise frequently. The second theory of Lamarck is the law of inheritance of acquired characteristics. It stated that the part that is used constantly develop, and a new species evolved after several generations because they've acquired new trait, and the old one will be lost out. New species evolve after several generations by acquiring new trait and losing the old one. The idea of the Lamarck is based on five things. One, environment make an organism to have some need. In order to satisfy this need, organism may use an organ. The organ that is used develop, and the organ that is not used degenerate. Characters are acquired by an organism. while trying to satisfy this need, and the one that is not used become useless. The second theory is Charles Darwin theory of evolution. I made you to understand that he published a book known as Origin of Species by Natural Selection. It's an English. Um, he was an English naturalist. He formulated theory of natural selection based on the struggle for existence. The idea of Darwin, the idea of Darwin work is based on five premises. One, overpopulation, that is overproduction. Two, variation. Three, struggle for existence. Four, survival of the fittest. The last one is advantageous characteristics passed on to organisms. He claimed that organisms tend to produce more than what they needed. That is, as a result of this, overpopulation set in, and the natural resources required for their survival are in short supply. In order to meet up, the organism struggle compete for the scarce resources. During the competition, organisms develop different adaptive features. The best adapted organisms survive, and this is termed survival of the fittest. The least, the weak one, die out, and the evolution of new species is called speciation. The next thing we look at is limitation of evolution theory. I made mention of the reason why Lamarck theory was rejected. The work of Lamarck was not accepted by many scientists because he claimed that physical features acquired by parents through use and disuse of the body parts may be inherited. But this statement has been disproved by another scientist called August Weismann, a German zoologist, by making use of two rats with cut tail for his experiment. The second limitation is inability of Darwin to explain how variation exists among members of the same species. We also look at modern theories of evolution. We have the modern theory stated as follows. One, certain variations are caused by environment, and the variation caused by environment are not inheritable. Two, the only inheritable variation are those that are caused by changes in the structure of DNA. 3. Mutation are the ingredients for organic evolution by natural selection. 4. The functional unit of evolution is the population. 5. Isolation is an important factor in evolution. And this modern theory of evolution was summarized under three headings: law of mutation theory, theory of natural selection, and theory of geographical isolation. I explained to you that mutation means sudden appearance of a distinct character within a large population due to minor change in their gene or chromosomes, and this accounted for the differences, for the variation that is seen among organisms of the same species. The second one is theory of natural selection. It claims that the nature selects the most fitted organism while the weak one are weed out. That is the theory of natural selection. The third one is theory of geographical isolation, that if a member of a species are separated into two populations by natural barriers such as mountain, ocean, rivers, continental drift for a long period of time, the gene may change to the extent that they might not be able to produce a viable offspring again, and this may lead to formation of a new species within their population. And also, we account for evidences of organic evolution among various organisms. I highlighted about 9 evidences of organic evolution. One is comparative anatomy. If you compare the structure of pentadactyl limbs of various vertebrates, you notice that they are built on the same plan. If you look at the heart of different animals, you see a progressive changes in the structure of the heart of vertebrate, from fish, which is made up of auricle, which is made up of 2 compartments, the auricle and ventricle. That is, it has the auricle, the ventricle. To the amphibians, which have the 2 auricles and 1 ventricle. To the reptiles, 2 auricles and 1 ventricle, partially divided ventricle. To the apes, that is 2 auricles and almost 4 chambers, and to the man, which have 4 chambers heart. Also, the method or the process of blood circulation changes from single circulation to double circulatory system. That is the comparative anatomy. Also, we made mention of vestigial organs. These are useless organs found in various animals. Examples include appendix in man, nipples in male, hair on the chest, reduced tailbone in man, and so on and so forth. And also the presence of wisdom teeth in whales in the embryonic stage in the among vertebrates. This shows that they descend or they evolve from the same common ancestor. The next evidence include embryology, where we talk about the study of embryonic development of organisms. There is a striking similarity among vertebrates, which suggests common ancestry. All living organisms pass through the same embryonic stages that its ancestor undergo. That is the law of biogenesis. When looking at this picture, you notice that the first feature that is shown clearly is the head. That is, development of living organism is from head to tail, cephalothorax. Another evidence is physiology. The presence of similar hormones and similar enzymes in all animals indicates that they evolve from the same common ancestor. Another evidence is fossil record. The remains or the imprint of organisms that once lived shows that a striking similarity between the present day and the pre-existing organism, which shows that they are of the same common ancestor. Cytology, this has to do with the microscopic structures of plant and animal cells, and they all have common and similar organelles. The next one is serology, which shows that antigen present in monkey is also found in man because the 2 species are closer. The next one is role of mutation, molecular records, domesticated animal, as well as biochemical record. These are the evidences of evolution. We look at the terminologies used in evolution. These include adaptive radiation, analogous, homologous, ontogeny, phylogeny. Analogy is the structure in organisms that have different ancestral origin, but they serve the same function, such as the 4 limbs of bats, which is used for flying, and the wings of butterfly, which is also used for flying. That is, they evolved from different ancestors, but they perform the same function. Homologous, these are structures that have certain features in common, but they perform different functions, such as our forelimbs and hind limb in man. Man made use of his hind limb for walking, while in some animal it is used for running, it is used for other purposes. Assignment 1. Name 2 scientists who have contributed to the study of evolution. 2. List 5 evidences to support the occurrence of evolution. 3. Distinguish between convergent and divergent evolution. Thank you. Stay safe.